This like real nerdy guy showed me how to put in pads. I'm like embarrassed. I don't know what the helmet does, anything. And I go out to practice. I have no idea. I don't come from a background where people watch, my family doesn't watch football, line of scrimmage. I know nothing. And the coach sits me down. He says, okay, here's the line, right? You line up here. When he moves that ball, you go across the line. You pop that guy as hard as you possibly can. And I'm like, are you for real? That's illegal? Okay. So here we go. We line up, go across the ball, knock the guy down. And I'm like, whoa, I did something wrong there. And everybody's like, whoa! Look at this. This is great. I can totally do this. We go on. I wrestle. I was known for wrestling. Had a great time. End up like, this is what I do. I'm football, I'm wrestling, I'm the captain of the football team, captain of the wrestling team, not like 1 year, like a couple years, and I really get into it. So one of my buddies, freshman year, invites me to this youth group. It's this youth group here. We're in a different church at the time, but it's the same body of believers. You with me? So he invites me in, and I'm like, hey, this is great, because I go in, and there's all kind of girls. And I'm like, this is great. There's all these girls, my parents don't get up here, we're not in school, so I can just hang out with them. So not short into that, we go to the Six Flags trip, and I meet this certain chick. And I am digging her, right? I mean, things are good. So we sit down, and my whole life starts to change. All I can do is think about her. I'm lining up on the line of scrimmage, and they gave me some kind of football play, and I can't remember it in my head for anything, because all I can think about is this girl, right? So it starts there with this crazy girl. So then, my youth pastor says, Craig, what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing people in, right? Not much different than now. Now I think you got to what is it? What's your slogan, Dennis? Gathering people, you're adopting people. What do you call it?
Gather, prepare, and send.
Gather, prepare, and send. We're bringing people in.
Right?
They don't know.
They don't know. I don't know. So,
Gather, equip, and
my
send.
youth ministry's like, Craig, we're going to invite people in. And I'm like, cool, because I like this Jesus guy, right? And I've got a lot of friends on the football team, on the wrestling team. We can just bring them in. They'll come hang out with me, with the girls, after school. So it's great. So we start bringing them in. But here was the problem. This is what my youth minister apparently didn't know, is the youth group really sucked. It was really lame. We came in, we sang these songs, and they weren't really cool. And we played these really dumb games, and that wasn't really fun. Because if you had a bunch of football guys and wrestling guys, we didn't want to come in and, hug people. Because that's just not what we did. I didn't walk up to my other captain and be like, hey man, I love you, welcome to, church. It's just not what we did. So I come up with my own little youth group growth program. I'm gonna grow the youth group because we're gonna make youth group fun. And I'm not sure how to do that, but we'll take any opinions you can, and let's just do it. So here's what we came up with on the fly. We would just do stupid stuff and get in trouble all the time. It would be great fun. And it worked. We did lots and lots of stupid stuff. Garner, he's totally agreeing. I mean, extreme stuff. We'd go to a conference, and they would, we were like, hey, I can come up with this idea. I'd be like, let's go to the leader, like the guest speaker, and his little entourage, and they're all talking about after he gets done speaking what they'll do the next day, right? So let's go find that group. Not like our church leader, but like the church conference leader. We'll knock on the door. When they open, we'll take water balloons and we'll just throw them in there. Oh, it'll be great. And then they'll chase us and it'll be great fun. So we do, and it was great fun. And it worked. We had tons and tons of guys come in. At one point, we'd done something extremely stupid. We were in all kind of trouble. And we were sitting down, and they were giving us this great lecture. And they were telling us how we almost got everybody killed. And it was true, not unjustified. And they said, guys, look around. Do you not notice that there's half of the football team in this room? What would you have done if you got killed on Friday night? And I looked around, and I was like, we really have half the football team here. This is great. And I thought we were doing really good, right? And not only that, but we had some fruit. Do you know in those 4 years that I sat in a room with these brothers on the team that I loved and enjoyed, and personally sat in the room and led 5 of those guys through a sinner's prayer to accept Christ. And there were at least 7 guys on the team in that 4 years that became a Christian. And I felt like it worked. Of course, toward my senior year, the church asked me to leave, and I got kicked out. So obviously there was some flaws, right?
Yeah.
So then that's my story. We're transitioned then Senior year, I feel like I'm going to go somewhere and wrestle in college. Wrestling was my thing. That was my true passion. I worshiped it almost like a god. That's another lesson. I can talk about it the whole time. And that's what I did. My senior year, I pinned 4 state champions. I felt like this is what we're doing. In fact, when I was a freshman, I told my wife, well, not at the time, I told this girl, that I would probably go somewhere and play a sport in college. And just, go ahead and plan on if we make it that long, when I'm in college, I'm out. I'm going to go play a sport. So my senior year, state semifinals, I'm beating this guy to death. I get caught in a roll. He rolls me over and pins me. And it crushes my world. I mean, to you, you're listening to the story, right? And I don't know if you've ever worshipped something way too much where it's a problem. But to me, it's like the end of my crazy little world. I mean, it's over. It took me a stupid amount of time to get over that. And maybe I haven't. I mean, literally crushing it, because that's what I did. Crushing it. So it ends up that I go and play football instead, because that was working out a little better. So I go down to Georgia Southern. But before I go, we have this big, awesome, fun bash, and everybody gets together, and we're hanging out. And this girl that I've met in youth group, she gives me this thing, and she says, Craig, I feel like this would help you in your relationship with God. And I'm like, what is it? And she's like, what's this? It's this system, it's this way of doing things that will help you grow your faith in Christ. And I'm like, okay, we'll try it, let's do it. I mean, I like God, let's try it. So she gives it to me, and at this big bash party, I tell one of my buddies who's going to a different college, here, man, let's try this together. I'll call you on Sundays, we'll do this thing, it'll be great. We'll keep in touch, and we'll do this thing, and we'll grow our faith. Do you know that thing that she gave me was the single most defining thing that grew my faith of all the things that I could ever put a finger on? It was, for me and God as a relationship builder, truly life-changing. So, right, we're done with high school. I transition to college. I get down there 2 weeks before anybody's down there, because we have this football thing, and we're practice for 2 weeks, and then everybody comes in. And BSU, this Baptist student unit, it's like the mini church for college kids, comes in, and they're like, hey, let's have an orientation meeting. I'm like, great, let's do it. So we go down, we're having fun for a week, going to school but not really going to class, and we're doing the football thing. And everybody stands up and they say, hey, I'm Craig Gentry, this is what I do, and they sit down. I'm here to play football, let's go on. So it's not long before I'm at the BSU, and these 2 girls come and get me, and they bring me to the guy that's speaking, the main keynote speaker for the evening. And they sit me down across the table, and the dude sits down, he looks me in the eyes, and he says, I have been praying for you to come to Georgia Southern for 4 years. And I say, this guy's crazy. Even if it was me he was praying for, how would he know it's me? In 4 years, maybe he's a little rusty. That's a long time. This man ends up being Stuart Moody, the first person to be a chaplain of the football team. As we spend 4 years together, and I listen to him and I grow in him, we end up starting a Bible study that coaches weren't receptive to. The first Bible study that we know of that was started for a football team. And we grow it, and it gets big, and God blesses it. We end up starting a college worship service. We started it, and we were like, hey, it's going to be great, and 4 people showed up. And 2 of them were in the band. And one of them was Stuart. And the other was me. And we're like, it's still going to be great, but we're a little, we're not really sure. And when I leave Southern 4 years later, there are hundreds of kids that every Sunday go to this service of college worship. And we start this thing, we call it Jesus in a Bar. And what we do is, on Sunday they can't serve liquor, right? So all the college kids don't go drink, and they're really bummed out, and there's nothing for them to do. So Stuart lines up the guy who owns the bar, not a Christian, and allows